working, and we are good to go. And I think that first 3 minutes was actually live. So
Done.
also,
You can
um,
get all the racist stuff from before that, so that's good.
no,
I
no,
know,
yeah,
right?
we're good. I think they missed all that part,
That's
but
good.
I do have mini goals for this podcast, just tiny little goals, and the goal that I think we should achieve and we will surpass is go beyond episode 6. I think we could do that this time.
So
Fingers
we're
crossed.
are we? So wait, we're
Meaning.
locked in to 6 episodes.
Let's get there because that's where
Season
we
1,
stopped.
6 episodes. Let's go.
I don't remember
Season
signing
one.
anything. I just want to, for the record, I didn't sign anything.
You still have to talk to my agent.
Oh
Um,
man, already.
I did. I
Who's got
sent
the
it.
corona? That's what
Is that
I'm
White
saying.
Mamba or was it King? Who's your agent? You got all these people working for you.
Oh man,
It was one of them. It was one of them.
All I know is I sent it out, so we'll see. But anyways, man, I think we should just go around and introduce ourselves for the second time, and I think the people that are already in chat kind of knows all of us already, but at least for the new people, so we'll introduce ourselves at least. I'll start. First of all, I will say this episode is brought to you by
you
JP
already got
Custom Ink. Hey, man,
He
I like
custom it.
sponsored.
listen. I sent out the information. I don't know if you guys agreed with. We partner up with JP Custom Ink for this episode. The next one, maybe it's we'll talk to Mr. Eddie and see what we can do.
I'm waiting for my free JP custom ink T-shirt I didn't get yet.
That's coming. As a matter of fact, Gio's got a nice one. That's Confident Apparel
Oh,
as well. That's nice. And he's had that for about 4 or 5 years.
and it's still in great condition.
Those guys are amazing. I think who's the guy that runs it? I think his name is George, but whatever. But
That guy.
that guy. So, anyways, I'm CV Tech One across social media. Doesn't matter where it is. Just look up CV Tech One. You'll find me. And I think as we introduce ourselves, we could probably say one or two things about ourselves. If you want to disclose, something that you like to do. And for me, gaming is something that I enjoy. And also just trying to be creative with my company as well. Um, I'm trying to learn as well to get into the graphic gaming game part of things, like what Gio does. Gio is basically an artist, and I'm trying to get him to do more stuff for me, doing designs. So I'm trying to learn that myself. Um, what else I can tell you about me that's not crazy? I don't know. I think that's pretty much it. I think I'll share more stuff as we go, right? And so let's go to Gio. Tell these people who you are. Maybe something that you like to do, or a hobby, or what you do. It's up to you if you want to share that. Tell them a little something about you.
Yeah. My tag is CV Geo Genius. I go by Geo. I play Xbox. I'm a CV Geo Genius on the Xbox. Same thing on YouTube, CV Geo Genius with the 3 at the end of it. I'm on social media, but I try to stay a little low key on there. If you find me, you find me. If not, then you weren't looking hard enough. But about me, 20 years in the military, so spent a lifetime essentially doing that. So I got a little bit of experience on those things. But outside of the military, I just a regular dude doing stuff. I consider myself a jack of all trades, master of none. I dabble here, I dabble there. I'm about just kind of like experiencing as much as I possibly can, being true to myself and having a good time with people. That's really what I do. I'm the wild card. You know what I'm saying? I might say something that might need a couple of bleeps here and there. So I'm gonna let y'all know ahead of time. But that's pretty much me.
Okay, Mr. Wild Card. Like to have fun with all people, huh?
Floor is yours.
All right, so I'm AdvocateHebron. I'm AdvocateHebron on everything. Was it Twitch, Twitter, email, Gmail, all that. So that's where you can find me. I'm very much like Geo in that
No, you're not.
I'll get to that. Was in the Marine Corps for a time. Did a lot of stuff. Video games, Xbox, movies, television. I think I'm into that more than anybody here. Also, politics. I'm a little bit interested more than the average person. Moral philosophy. I'm probably interested more than everyone else here. So I'm going to be probably the bad guy in most of the assignments.
The bad guy.
That's the route you choose.
I mean, I'm going to be like, but really, to all of our obvious agreements on pretty much every topic because we're all the same demographic guy. So,
fair enough.
The bad guy is going to be the likable guy. Watch.
I'll do my best to not be an asshole, but I'm gonna be like, but really, do you really think that, or
that's a lot of bet. That's going to require a lot of best from you.
But yeah, that's me. I guess I'm kicking it to Eddie.
Yeah, man, you guys see the name, Eddie. I'm also known as CV Goat 45. Find me on Twitter. I like to play on Twitter a lot. At EVDIE4 on Twitter. And I try to bring logic and sense to conversations. I try to keep emotions down. But that's probably what I bring to the table a lot. I'm a manager, been a manager for a long time. So dealing with all different types of personalities, all different types of people from different backgrounds. So, you want to be able to hear people out, listen to different perspectives, and then be able to come to, some kind of consensus idea that people can sort of rally around and get behind. We're not always going to agree. These guys will tell you that. And that's pretty much what I'm looking to bring to the table. So.
Okay. Sounds good, man.
Let's do it, man. I'm in. Let's go.
I said let's start off with basically the elephant in the room is what happened today, right? Or the decision of the jurors today on the trial. I haven't really been following it like that. Like I said, I just wanted to take a mental break from it, and I just caught the end of it. When I saw a picture of the judge and the kid, I don't know, I guess they were together watching TV, and that's when I was like, what is happening? So I don't know if any one of you guys want to take in. How do you feel about what happened today with the trial? Anybody?
So I got to start with,
Or do you agree with what happened?
So Rittenhouse, who went across state lines with the purpose of involving himself in the civil dispute or rioting, protest, depending on your perspective of the situation. Engaged in acts that apparently do not consist of murder or I can't call him these things because he's innocent by our rules, but like he did the thing, people lost their lives, but he wasn't responsible. It's concerning that the verdict protected these actions, because that to me means there's going to be more of these actions. There's no way that someone thinking like Rittenhouse isn't going to also take those actions and then claim a similar defense and then use the defense of Rittenhouse as more evidence of their innocence, and the ball gets rolling along those lines. I'm concerned about that because more than anything, loss of life is probably a bad thing across the board. I think we can all agree on that we don't want people losing their lives. But again, it wasn't I think a lot of people that are jaded and have been paying attention to the news expected this outcome. So it wasn't like a shock, but you're still a little disappointed. You want?
Can I jump in real quick and ask a question?
Sure.
Before we get too far into it, so I'm going to get a perspective of everyone's opinion and give it weight, whatever. How much of the trial did everybody watch?
I turned it off early when there was a distinction made between who could be called a victim and who could be called a rioter. So I was like, oh, so this is how this is going to go. That's when
I started way towards the end. Like I said, when I started seeing it on when these guys were like kind of watching TV and it was just all over the place, that's when I kind of started. So I don't know. So I guess the defense's thing was he was defending himself, right? Is that's the argument that he
Their
put forth?
defense was self-defense. He was not the aggressor in the situation.
But like Hebron said though, how do you feel about that though? Because like I mean, it is his right to drive. What was it, 15 miles, and put himself in that position with a gun, right?
it's the same problem with the Trayvon Martin problem. Like, can I start a fight having a gun? Can I instigate a fight that puts me into the point where I need to defend myself?
Yeah.
Because that's
Ahmaud
problematic.
Arbery, same situation, right? Not to change it, but it's the same, similar vigilante. I see something wrong, let me go fix it, and all that. But Eddie, how much did you watch?
All of it.
Okay.
He's all in.
Y'all, you guys know the deal. For everybody that's like watching or gonna watch this later, these guys already know I have some really primal feelings about just how we sort of interpret what's going on as a country, as a society. Okay. So and what I mean by that is all of us can watch a video. We all watch the same video. We could literally be sitting all side by side and watch the same video. And all four of us could potentially have a different view of what we saw. And then people's biases come into play, preconceived notions come into play. One of the things that fundamental issues right out of the gate before the trial even begins that I think is wrong or sort of screwed up is the justice system itself, right? So people are convicted before the trial even starts in some cases, right? Other cases, in terms of the public, I mean. Other cases, people say before the thing even begins, before they even hear evidence, the person, they're getting off. They should have done it. They had every right. So we're going into the trial with preconceived notions, okay? But what we're supposed to rely on is, as citizens, is we're supposed to expect that the justice system is going to hold everyone to the same rules, right? And what we all know through our own experiences, through seeing other people, through history, is that doesn't happen. That does not happen. It's evident. No one's gonna debate or dispute that it's not equal, right? So when you look at a case like this, and you're gonna have differing opinions right out of the gate, it's very hard for us to watch a video and everyone come to the same conclusion. So just remember, as we talk about this particular case, and we're comparing it to the other case, the four of us may see it as, okay, yeah, this is what he did, but just understand the other side doesn't see it that way. And that jury, ultimately the people that are deciding this kid's fate, probably fall into the same boat as we do. Are they supposed to? No. Are they supposed to talk about the case with anyone? No. Should they have been sequestered? That's an opinion, right? Should they have been kept in a hotel room, not allowed to go home, not allowed to speak to the public, right? We're going to debate that all day long, but that didn't happen in the case. So all we should really be doing is looking at what happened in the courtroom. We can obviously debate that, but if something isn't brought into a case and it isn't delivered as evidence, the jury's not going to use that as a determining factor of whether this kid violated whatever laws that the prosecutor is suggesting they did, right? So there are videos of Kyle Rittenhouse saying things, doing things that the judge didn't allow in the case. I don't think the prosecutor wanted one of those videos. He didn't even bother to try to submit it in his evidence, right? So the public has seen those things. The four of us, I know I watched both those videos, right? And that sort of lends itself to me kind of in my own brain deciding who I think Kyle Rittenhouse is. And then that also then lends itself to making me say, yeah, absolutely, totally convict him. He's guilty. He shouldn't have done that. He murdered people. Go to
Do
jail.
you think that video they kept out though could contribute or become a big part of the trial? Because I don't know what the video showed or what he said in that video.
So two specific videos that I saw. One of them, he basically was in a group of kids. I call them kids, but they're probably, teenagers or whatever. And they were all arguing and screaming. And there was a female, a young girl there. And girl's the wrong word, right? She's a teenager. And he started hitting her. A couple other people started hitting. So basically, he's like jumping this girl. That was Kyle Rittenhouse. All right. There's another video that's a little bit more incriminating in terms of just what his mental state probably was when he went to Kenosha. He's in a car with a group of friends, I'm assuming. They're filming. I don't know if it was like a riot or a protest or whatever it was, but there's basically a bunch of people around, and he says, you can hear Kyle Rittenhouse say in the video, I wish I had my AR-15 on me right now. Right. And he's basically saying, I would go shoot him. Right. Wow. So those two things were kept out of the courtroom for whatever reason. Right. I don't know if it was the judge that just said no to both of them, or if it was the prosecutor that just didn't know about it or didn't try to submit it in for evidence. But would that potentially sway a juror? Probably. Right. Probably. But again, that doesn't factor into the case because those jurors didn't have an opportunity to listen to that or watch that, or at least they weren't supposed to, right? So I look at these cases from the point of view of a juror. I don't look at it from my point of view as Eddie watching, all this stuff on social media and on the news. So if I'm a juror and I don't necessarily have access to those videos, that's not gonna tie into my decision. I'm supposed to simply apply the law. So even me on a personal basis, if I ever were to go to get arrested and charges brought against me, I'm hoping that the law is blind to my color, right? To where I come from. They don't give a crap about my income, right? That's what I hope for. And that's supposedly what this country's supposed to live up to. Mm-hmm. And from based on everything I've seen and throughout my, 39 years of life, I don't think that happens, right? I'm finding out that it isn't blind. I wish it was, but it's not. So there's a couple of things about the case specifically that stood out to me that I wanted to bring up. So one of the first ones was they've tried to frame it as a self-defense case, right? Obviously, they succeeded because he's not guilty, okay? So when we say things like, can you be an aggressor or you go across state lines to start trouble, just remember, he was found not guilty. So us even uttering those words no longer valid, right? The jury has decided that no.
He did cross state lines and trouble did happen. I don't know
if he was the catalyst to that.
I want to see the civil case because there's got to be one. And as we know, there's I don't know. As we know, I apologize. As some of us know, there's a lower burden of proof. So a lot of the things that weren't in the trial are going to get into the civil case. And depending on how much America loves Kyle Rittenhouse, he's going to get supported and then possibly a chunk of that support taken away by a civil trial. Maybe. I mean, I feel like historically that's how a type of justice has been found in previous cases. So we'll see.
But remember, we're talking about criminality, right? We're talking about criminality. Right. The state has brought charges up against this kid. And all I'm saying is as we talk about it, right, and we put it in a certain context, the jury has decided that he wasn't the aggressor. Right. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point of self-defense. Right. If he's the aggressor, that's one of the things that killed me about the George Zimmerman trial is George Zimmerman's the aggressor. Trayvon Martin, some high school kid trying to get home.
And
shouldn't, right.
Yeah, I agree.
So they've
decided, put myself in a situation where,
like
I'm clearly prepared to become the aggressor.
100%, right?
A situation where
Right.
I get to become I get to be in defense, become the aggressor. That's
but
that's right now is a rule. Stand your ground is a thing.
Yep. And I'm gonna get to the stand your ground because that's I don't know, I'm sitting there writing, right, and taking notes. Like, we're gonna get to stand your ground because I think a lot of what's going on in the country on a bunch of different levels is the fact that we have state laws. They're all obviously different, and I don't think the public necessarily realizes exactly what that means. Right? I saw a lot of people saying things like, "Oh, a federal charge is going to be brought against Kyle Rittenhouse," right? And if people are asking that question, the first thing I say is, for what? Yeah. Federal charges for what? Right? It just means that there's a fundamental misunderstanding of either A, what happened, or B, they don't understand how the law works.
Well, technically, he could get federal charges because he went home afterwards.
Sure. You're talking about the weapons charge, right? Transferring a weapon over state lines.
Right. That makes it so. Once you have once you are accused of violating a code that's federal, then you can be brought up on.
So the question is did he take the AR-15 home with him?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Right. The next thing I have in my my notes here, and I'll go through these real quick, is the defense attorney actually brought up the officer who shot Jacob Blake in the first place. Right? So the whole reason there's a protest is because of Jacob Blake, whatever he forgets about. Right? So he's shot 7 times by a police officer, right? And the defense attorney for Kyle Rittenhouse brings up, well, there's already precedent in our state, right? We have someone who shot 7 times and no charges were brought, right? So to me, this is all about precedent. It's the first thing I have down written here in my notes. This is setting the example. It's creating a situation where people now get to refer back to this precedent and say, see that right there? That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Now they'll still have
and it's case law. When it comes, I don't mean to interject, but it becomes case law. The next time it happens, you get a situation like this, they're going to look back at that. And they could go back to, the Zimmerman case that you mentioned, the same thing, right? Once the stuff continues to get built, they're like, well, it happened then. And it's very similar situations. If you let that guy go, therefore you should now, err on the same kind of side, because if they can paint that picture to be similar, they can do that.
So if you're a protester that wants to go out, and protest, are you armed now? Just again, we're talking about setting precedent, right? So now we know Rittenhouse was, he was found not guilty, right? So do people, arm themselves and go out into a protest? Because now all you've created is a war zone.
Isn't having an AR illegal in that state or no?
No.
Oh,
an open carry with an AR is not illegal. All that stuff is legal, right?
I thought AR was like in a special thing. You can't.
No.
It's just for Armalite.
Yeah.
Eddie,
I know you got a couple of notes. Just want to jump in real quick just to kind of state a few points, and then I'll hand it back to you or whoever. I wasn't in front of the TV, hand in my lap with popcorn like you, Eddie, like hovering on every word, right? But I had it on at work, right? And I had it on the TV. So when points came up that struck my interest, because I've got a paralegal background. I've spent hours in court. I know the lingo, I know the setup and all that stuff, just to kind of give you an idea. So when I hear certain things or some things are coming up, I know to snap attention and pay attention, right? But there are a couple of things that I want to make sure that we have a better understanding of as we talk about it, because people are listening. The 4 of us having a conversation about it, and we talked about it, like the whole he crossed state lines, right? Things that came up in court was his mother and his father are separated. His father lives, over the lines, but it's less than 20 minutes away, right? So it's not like it's super far. It's like going from one city to the next. So when people say he crossed state lines, most of the people that are watching the clickbait news or the news on the TV or wherever they're getting this information from, that's focused, so you can have a feeling about, oh, he crossed state lines. He didn't come from miles away. He wasn't too far. Where his dad lives wasn't too far. Did he cross state lines? Yes. but it wasn't like he went way out of his way to go to it, because that's what I thought originally. That's one. The other one was the information that the defense brought up was he was there with the AR because he was hired, asked to go and protect a business by the owner of that business. So say, I'm the guy of the business and I said, hey, Teck, I need you to bring some people with guns just to protect my stuff because the rioters are acting up. And they went there. Their intent was to just stand guard and protect. And that's one issue that a lot of people have anyway, because it's the vigilantism, right? We're going to protect what's ours from these thugs, heathens, rioters, whatever you want to call it. So his intent, what the defense was saying was they went there from the request of the owner that had a right to have an establishment, have a physical presence with armed presence to protect that facility. That's why they were there. So like to kind of quell some of the, he just went over state lines to go get some smoke, so to speak. That really wasn't what it was. At least that's the way the defense painted it. He went there at the request of the owner of the company or this mom and pop shop to protect it. And obviously things got crazy, right? And that's the other piece. And then the video, one of the videos that caused a bit of a stir was the video of, one of the Rosen, I don't want to say the wrong name, but the one of the victims, right, that got shot. The video showed him chasing Rittenhouse. So it shows Rittenhouse as he's running away with the weapon. The other guy's chasing him. And when he kind of got cornered or closed off, he turned around and shot the other guy. And the other guy had, I want to say, a weapon as well, a pistol. I'm not 100% sure if he was the one. But either way, the video showed Rittenhouse running from the other guy, getting cornered and shooting him. Now, here's where the prosecution may have messed up on that video, because this was a big deal. They made a big deal about it. The prosecution has the burden of proof, and they're required to provide all the information, right? Anything they get from the investigation, they have to provide to the defense, and the defense has an opportunity to look at it and fight against it or defend it or say, hey, this is why that video looks like this, or this is why that evidence looks like this. But the defense doesn't have to provide anything to the prosecution, i.e., if I'm a murderer and I killed somebody, and I didn't, of course, right? And I tell my lawyer, yeah, I killed them. The lawyer is like, okay, we got to find a way to not say that in court and find a way to spin around it. So like, just to let you know, that's the burden of proof. The prosecution has to give up all information. And in this case, they provided a shorter version of that video of Rittenhouse being chased. So not only was it shorter, but it was also like it was compressed. It's like when you send a video from iPhone to an Android, it gets all messy and they blame the Samsung people, right? But it's not. That's the video. This 15-second video is what the prosecution provided to the defense. And then when they found out, and they had the 45-minute video with like HD 4K resolution. And that's what we're
seeing not being a part of the jury.
It wasn't provided to the jury. And in that case, the video showed clearly Rittenhouse running away. It doesn't show what happened before. It doesn't all that. It just shows up until right before the shooting and just until the shooting. And it paints Rittenhouse as the victim in the case, running away, not the aggressor. And if it showed him chasing the guy and shooting him, he's done, right? But it showed the opposite, him running away and then him turning around and shooting the guy. That's where the issue is. And these are the important information, that just three of the many things that happened, to include the prosecution made a lot of mistakes. And then the defense jumped on it as soon as possible. So when you do that to discredit the other side, the jury's going to be like, yeah, I can't side with you because I can't trust some of the things you're saying, because some of the stuff is either wrong or not fully provided in XYZ. Figured I'd say that. Go ahead.
Do you think that the prosecution actually wanted to win this case?
Go all the way back to George Zimmerman's trial, and that's the same question I have there. Sometimes based on the evidence that you have and based on the arguments that you can potentially make in court, you have to know what's too much of a stretch, too much of a, given that the judge has now thrown out the gun charge, that was probably the easiest charge to convict him on, and the judge threw it out, right?
Yep.
So it's the same thing with Zimmerman. They went for, I believe, you guys quote, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was second-degree murder.
I think it was first, and I think it was over.
It was
originally.
Yeah. Like, dude, you know how many other charges they could have charged him with, and the guy would have been in jail for 20 years, 30 years, right? And they didn't.
Yeah.
So I would sit there, and I'll never forget this. My wife and I talk about it all the time, right? She's sitting there, she's watching, she feels bad for Trayvon. This guy's, whatever. She's thinking guilty. And I'm listening to the prosecutor, right? And I'm going through it all, and I'm like, all right, so again, if I'm a juror and I'm hearing this stuff, not putting aside what I personally had heard through the media and stuff like that, I don't know if I would have said, yeah, George Zimmerman is guilty of first-degree or second-degree murder. You know what I'm saying? So because I had that thought, now when you ask this question, Hebs, exactly, I'm thinking to myself, all right, either A, they were just simply too aggressive in terms of the charges they were trying to convict them of, both of these guys, Zimmerman and Rittenhouse. B, the lawyers just, the prosecutor's just incompetent, right? He's just not that great at his job. Or C, and this may sound kind of conspiracy theory-ish, but here's a country that has a history of this. So is it really a conspiracy theory? Maybe they really didn't try to win the case, right? Maybe it's just, good old boys doing their thing. As much as I hate having to think that could potentially be a possibility, when you look at both of these cases, and I'm sure there are others that we're not even bringing up, man, how do you not think that? How does that not pop into your head? That's the problem, right? So regardless of whether the verdict was the correct one based on the evidence and all of those other things, because we can have that question in our brains, how do you ever trust the legal system? How can you ever get to a point where you're like, all right, justice has been served or not served? It's doubt, right?
That's crazy.
Doubt. Yeah, like I was listening to what George was just saying, right? So I pulled it up because I wanted to make sure I had it right. So he wasn't asked to go there and defend that car dealership. The owners of that, it's a family-owned car dealership. They own 3 car dealerships in that area, right? 2 brothers who work at the dealership, right? Their family own the dealership. They said, yeah, we didn't ask anyone to defend it. They didn't just not ask Kyle Rittenhouse. They didn't ask anyone. They had conversations with people who about the fact that their businesses were being trashed, right, during that whole thing. But they never specifically was like, hey, we're like, hey, we want you guys to come help us defend this. Matter of fact, they weren't even there themselves. They didn't go and defend their own property. So again, it's another one of those like misconceptions, but that's what you hear, right? Social media. Oh, they asked me to. No, that's not what happened. These guys testified. I pulled it up on my phone to make sure I had it right. Both brothers testified, or one brother testified, that they did not ask anyone to defend the property. Specifically asked about Kyle Rittenhouse. No, we'd never asked him to defend the businesses. The defense attorney asked them, like, why wouldn't you defend your property? Right. And they basically said, because there was nothing we really could do. It was already so far gone. There was nothing else we could do. They had moved all the cars away from the dealership. Right. So, again, it's just like a false narrative. It's a false idea.
So
Kyle Rittenhouse went there, and we all know why he went there. Right.
But
the question isn't why he went.
But if the brothers testified and they said we didn't ask him, isn't that what they were saying that put him there is because he was asked to go there?
Yeah. Exactly. But again, that's not what's on trial. What's on trial is not why he's there. What they're putting on trial, the case, this is a self-defense case.
Yeah. Did he murder the guy, or was it self-defense? That's the answer. That's the question
Correct.
that they're trying to figure out.
So that's already a very difficult burden to have to meet on the prosecutor. It's already a hard enough job.
And quite frankly, once both sides have guns, it's already kind of, it doesn't even, like, I'm not surprised by the outcome of this. It's just that I'm concerned about what this
precedent.
is going to do going forward. Like
Yeah.
the outcome was predictable because of the nature of the case. Because if
100%.
we're only talking about what he felt in that moment, then you're right. It is a self-defense case. But
Yeah.
if you're like, what brought him to that place, then it's different. But if you can shrink it down to that moment where a life was taken, you're going to win that all the time.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. It's like
Both sides have weapons.
Eddie had brought something up. It's like every case, and this is what makes court stuff very interesting for people who are interested in this kind of thing. It's like it's a drama that plays out, right? And the information that comes out, on each side, from the prosecution side, it's like, okay, here's what we got. We got to make cake with these ingredients. We got to get a verdict with these ingredients. You might have missing ingredients where you got to go try to find, the weapon, find the body, find, you know what I'm saying? Find the evidence that will nail the coffin shut, so to speak. But a lot of times that stuff's not there, right? And on the defense side, they're just trying to deflect and shield. They could sit there and say nothing at all the entire time and let the prosecution say whatever, and they can just be like, prove it. That's just basically the dance that goes on. And then whether someone is guilty or not is contingent upon the information that's available for the prosecution and also how good the prosecution is. Because you can make water out of wine sometimes by the way that you deliver, the way you pull on the heartstrings of the jury and all that other stuff. Like there's a dance to that. So when we look at this stuff from the perspective from what, the information that we all got, like whether, he was there, why he was there. And then you got the biases that we talked about. When we go into this information or in this situation, we look at stuff, we bring all this baggage and all this, everyone's already on one side and everybody's on the other side. And they try to, and you already have a preconceived notion of it, right? But the outcome is based on the information that's provided. So it's going to be different. Like I said, if he told the lawyer, his lawyer, like why he was there. His lawyer knows the exact information, but they don't have to say anything. So he sat there and they made the prosecution look bad. The prosecution made themselves look bad. The victim has passed. So imagine if the victim lived. Now we got more information. Why did you chase him? Well, he threatened us or he punched us or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But like when the victim is dead, the defendant is there. And let me add to this piece. They put him on the stand. And I want to question how you guys feel. Let me ask the question. Because here, I'm going to preface with this. Normally, the defendant does not go on the stand because it's bad. You put an 18-year-old on the stand with a lawyer, that's like throwing a sheep in a ring with a lion. He ain't gonna make it. But
shouldn't make it. Shouldn't
make it unless they boo-hoo the ugliest cry face I've seen since Michael Jordan. Like, so what do you guys think? Do you think? I mean, obviously we know that it turned out well, but like, what were your thoughts going with that? And then, real quick before we get to that, there's a piece. Don't let me forget. Tap send a message in there that he stated. Time by time, young men of color get tried as. There you go.
That's awesome.
And that's one thing that kind of pissed me off, and he pointed out on that too. Because I'm a law guy, right? I'm a court guy, and the results I knew was going to come out the way it was because I just saw how it unfolded because of the information, right? Mm-hmm. But I want to talk about this right after we talk about him testifying. So, Hebron, it sounded like you had something.
I was just surprised, to let him off the hook. Like, there's questions you could have asked that it seems from the outside perspective you could have asked that would have led to a different outcome of that exchange. But everybody who saw it was like, he got left off. Again, I'm second-handing it because it seemed like it was a foregone conclusion after earlier things had happened. So I was already like, okay, this is how this is going to go. I'm already accepting it now. so I don't have to get the jarring, whatever the internet is happening right now on Twitter and everything, because it's blowing up hard. So I was already okay with it, but I realized, because I'm watching social media where people have these explosions of how bad the prosecution is, and I was like, oh damn! So it's already like bad, and they are doing bad. Oh man, this is gonna be ugly.
Yeah.
They might somehow convict the victim somehow. Like somebody else is gonna get caught. Like it was bad.
And Eddie, do you have something?
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh man, listen, man.
About him testifying and all that. Because I know you got a lot still.
Yeah. All right. So about him specifically testifying, it's masterful. It's masterful. Here's why. Prosecution is struggling. Judge has made some questionable rulings. Okay. The defense at this point has requested a mistrial. They've already requested it. The judge didn't decide on it, right? He didn't make a ruling. He was saving it. I'll address that, at some point, and basically essentially says I'll have to, look at the laurels of the argument and think about it and make a ruling later. So that's already been done, right? Because it's a self-defense case. Because it's a self-defense case, putting Kyle on the stand could potentially help him, right? He simply has to get up there and make the argument that he was scared for his life. The burden is not on him. It's on the prosecutor to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he didn't fear for his life. Then we have a game. He didn't do that.
And putting him on the stand and having him boo-hoo as hard as he did, and they're like, oh, yeah. He was 17 when it happened. Dude, with the videos of him.
Yeah. It's I told you. Look, I'm not going to say, right? But like what I do for a living, right? I say it all the time. I train a lot of people. I tell them all the time. You know what the difference is between winners and losers? And when I say winners and losers, I mean in our profession, the profession I'm in. The difference between winners and losers in the profession that I'm in is execution. You can tell me all you want that you want to be this and you want to do that and you're going to do this and do that. It's just like playing sports. It's like being on the football field, right? You can want to be a star, and then you have to actually go out there and do it. Right? You have to actually execute. Okay. Winners execute. Doesn't matter. And the ones that are like special execute over and over and over, despite the odds, despite the issues that they're dealing with. Right? They consistently win. Okay. In this particular situation, he was executing. The prosecutor is not executing. Okay. He can have all of the moral backing, right, of all of us, and we all think absolutely this shouldn't happen, not in our country, yada. All those things can be true, but if he doesn't go out there and actually perform, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got a question for you, Eddie.
For me? Okay.
Yeah, because you seem, obviously you got more information in regards to the case.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't hear this in the case at all. But you know how they talked about the victims? One was a pedophile, and they were, they vilified all three of them, right? They're all they're already known as rioters, right? And why they were rioting, why they were there and why they were doing. They were already seen as nefarious, regardless of what color they were. So that's one. The other one one's a pedophile, the other one's a thief, and the other one's a felon, had a weapon, so he was violating the law himself, right? So like. That's another one of the things that the defense is going to use. Shift the blame on the other side, on the victims, right? Like, what did that happen? Did they talk about that? That was my question to you. Did that happen? Were they specifically, was that discussed in the trial?
So as far as any victims, or we can't use that word, right? So out of all the people that he shot,
they're dead. So they're victims.
Yeah. Of everyone that he shot, no, their backgrounds in terms of whatever, history wasn't brought up. What was brought up is what you've already said, right? They're vilified. They're made to be the aggressor, the guy with the skateboard, They had a guy
They
they
can't
called
defend
what
themselves.
do they call him? They call him the jump man or the yellow pants man or something. Because
Yeah.
the kid like came in and like was jumped into this. They don't even have his name. They don't even refer to him by his name, right? So yes, but George, just like I want everyone to understand, like that's what the defense's job is. The defense executed.
Yeah,
That's what they're
absolutely.
supposed to do.
Mhm.
That's okay. So the question is did the prosecutor, did the state? And one more thing I want to say, because it was very important what you said, right? You said the victim, the three people Kyle Rittenhouse shot were dead, or two of them are dead.
Yep.
Who speaks
Mhm.
for them? The state.
Yep.
That's
And
the
they did
state's
not
job.
execute.
Correct. You're there to seek justice for them, not for, Black Lives Matter, not for Jacob Blake, not for, us, right? You're there to seek justice for those people that aren't there to fight for themselves, right? Who makes the argument that they were just defending themselves? And the prosecution did a poor job of convincing the jury beyond a reasonable doubt that that's what happened, right?
Right.
You put a guy up on the stand, had his blown off, right? His arm blown off, sorry. Shot him at the bicep. They literally showed the video of him sitting there and dude, disconnected. And he's just like holding it, okay? That guy goes up there and says, yeah, I had a gun. And the defense attorney said, did you point your gun at him? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Over.
Yep.
Wow.
Gavel this one. Now.
Yeah. And that's what it is, man. Just unless someone has some very,
I want to say one more thing about something you said, your analogy about the cake.
Yep.
You said, you're making a cake and you have these ingredients, okay? And you can't go get more ingredients, right? You're making a cake.
Make up ingredients. Yep.
Okay. But hold on, before I want
go
to
ahead,
jump
go
in
ahead,
quick.
go ahead.
You can do a better job of getting all the ingredients and then show me the ingredients that you have.
Hebs, hold on a second. Hold that thought.
You can make do with what you got.
Hold that thought, Hebs, right?
There's more ingredients. You're allowed to get all the ingredients.
Right. Number one, rushed.
Sorry.
Rushed investigation. 100% rushed. Rushed, whether that's because of political pressure, right? Climate, in terms of what was going on in that area. The prosecutor or the DA felt rushed to bring charges against this kid. Okay?
Absolutely.
That's the first mistake. In terms of building the cake and the ingredients you were talking about, and everybody who's going to watch this should definitely pay attention to this because this affects all of us. If you are responsible for baking that cake, right, and you have a certain set of ingredients in front of you, and you try to build one of those 5-tower wedding cakes,
overreach.
You're probably not going to get 5 towers. So as the baker, do you just say, screw it, I'm going to build this 5-layer cake and then fail? Or in order to be able to deliver for your customer, do you say, you know what, based on the ingredients I have, I'm going to make a 2-layer cake or a 3-layer cake? So again, I'm going back to that because I don't know if these prosecutors just sort of have, it's not incompetence. I'd hate to think that somebody that smart gets to that level in terms of being an attorney, and then they just like don't know how to do it, right?
On a case this big is my problem.
On a case this big,
that's
right?
That's why I don't think that is. Yeah, go ahead.
And these guys aren't solo. This isn't like you go talking. You're going to go hire a defense attorney. This is the state. This is the government. So it just can't be that they just forgot how to do their job. That can't be it. One of the things I think could potentially happen is this is a big case. They want to win it, right? What better thing to put on your resume?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Then I got him and I got him for X. But the point but we want justice because you're shooting for the moon. If you miss out on reaching the moon, we're not still amongst the stars. It doesn't work like that when it comes to, we said
crash
all
back
time,
down to earth.
Like you're not just
dead,
okay, I didn't quite reach the moon, but I'm good because I got to space. That's not how it happens. That's not how it works. You're coming crashing down to earth. So in order to be able to deliver justice to the people that are no longer with us, the people that he shot, you can't build that 5-layer cake. All right, I understand. Can I get a 3-layer? Can I get a 2-layer? Right. Hell, I'll take a cupcake.
That's the district attorney. The district attorney is 100%. The guy that provides the ingredients.
100%.
And he's like, all right, we don't have butter. We can't make that kind of, like not to keep pushing the analogy, but I see what you're saying.
Go to the George Zimmerman trial, bro. We didn't even get a cupcake. And please understand, George Zimmerman has lived up to every single thing we all thought he was in the first place.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
He's
and we know.
right.
So think about it. Like, as much as we want to believe in the system, obviously the system has failed pre-trial, and I don't know if I'm going to go as far as say that the system failed in the Zimmerman and this current trial, but obviously something isn't getting done right, because we know from the information that and I followed that trial as well, is that like, if you get all the information and you're a juror, you're like, that guy did it, right? He friggin' what's the word? He stalked the kid.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The problem is we isolate the moment.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
How we got there doesn't matter.
Right. That's a good point.
It doesn't matter because we get to focus on
just that piece
that developed, not how we got there. So in that,
absolutely,
all I have to do is be like, yes, I was scared for my life at some point.
Absolutely. And this is where the issue is, and it's the judges that make this decision on what gets allowed in, and like, hey, juror, you didn't hear that. That doesn't get added in it. That's not part of it. Do not consider that. Whatever the case is, right? So when they do that, and like we talked about, I had a conversation with folks at work about this too. It's like, I get it. He's 17. He put himself in a situation that resulted him in being in trouble. And then he had a weapon, which exacerbated the situation, right? And then he shot and killed somebody. So you got to look at all the events that led all the way to that. He made a lot of mistakes. He made a lot of bad choices that put him in the situation that ended a life, that put him in defense mode. That took lives. Thank you. And then put him in a situation. And then they turn around and be like, well, he's a young kid. He made mistakes. There are plenty of young kids in jail right now that made less mistakes and whatnot, right? But the evidence and the situation and what was allowed and what was not allowed ended it. Now we skirted around some of that stuff with the conspiracy theories, but like after a while, and you see a lot of these cases, you're thinking like, is it rigged? Is it set up? Was it a show that the prosecution and the government and the judge and all the people who are just like, hey, let's just put on a show, let's make it look like this, but we know what's going to happen in the end. Like, that's the tone that everybody had an idea on. It was like, he's going to get out. And as the case went, I was like, oh, he's definitely for sure going to get off at this point. You know what I'm saying? It's just...
So quick question, because Eddie said the difference between win and lose is basically execution, right? So do you guys think they didn't execute or they didn't want to?
That's the thing. Go ahead.
I'm
not going. Let Hebs go.
I would just say that these internet like crimes that are based on videos that go viral that then the prosecution has to chase down, I would say they're not as excited about dealing with these cases because they're coming at them the wrong way. This is not a police investigated driven prosecution of an individual. This is a visibility, social media popularity problem that's being dealt with through law. And
crazy.
Because you're not getting the chance to go about it in the normal way because it's so popular, I would bet that it was one of those losing cases that you get handed that you're going to take an L on, and you're just like, I'm going to do something to try and, I'm going to do something, but
hold up appearances, make it look like you're
handicapping me at every point.
Correct.
But this is my bag, so I got to take the bag.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Not to lose all credibility because of it, and I don't know
now,
how successful.
But the question behind that, and I mean, we're not going to get an answer, is are they failing because they're set up to fail, or it's just, hey, we need to push forward. you got what you got. This is the evidence. This is all the evidence we got. There's nothing really else that we have available.
The need to push forward is the illusion.
Correct.
It's murder. There's no statute of limitations anyway, first of all. But like the fact that there's pressure from all the people that saw the video means that I have to do this now. And
yes, absolutely.
Like you can literally wait, get all the information. See, let that man fuck up again in some kind of way. I don't know why they're not bringing in all the other shit that he did. It doesn't all the little illegal things that happened afterwards that were illegal.
And this is part of that issue where knowledge comes into play. What people don't realize is when something goes down, like this incident happened last August, right? And here we are in November, a year and 3 months later, that the trial goes and concludes, right? And normally it takes a year and a half, 2 years for this type of large case for them to completely do all the due diligence and investigatory work and all this other stuff to give the best, bring the best case forward. But in a world like today where everybody needs information and it's already high vis and it's an emotional for everybody, they're like, hey, we got to quell this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure that has something to do with it, because these cases normally take about 2 years before it actually, by the time normally when these cases hit, like they go to court, you're like, oh crap, that did happen. I totally forgot about that. Right. But they did push it. That was a year and 3 months. That's relatively fast on average, because you're looking at a year and a half to 2.5 years before it goes back to trial.
For a capital murder case.
Yeah.
That's blazing fast.
We've seen cases that are less. There's much less too that have taken longer. There's no debating that. They rushed to get this kid. They rushed it. Look, man. So it's frustrating. Can you tell us I'm frustrated about it? But I'm not frustrated about it because some kid got off. I already knew that was going to happen. I was like, yeah, okay. I told Crystal the same thing I told her about George Zimmerman. I said, hey, based on what I've seen, that's not guilty. So I don't think the jury got it wrong. I'm saying the jury got it right.
According to the information that they had in front of them.
The prosecution. I think we all agree.
Yeah.
It was a failure of prosecution. Now, the question really is, was it avoidable or not? And
so again, remember, the judge still is holding. So just like you said, is it avoidable? The judge is still holding the mistrial ruling in his pocket.
And you think it was just waiting for it to be, guilty? Oh no, it was mistrial, just in case.
Mistrial. What was it? Mistrial with prejudice. Right. So they can't retry him.
Right. I mean, do you think it's going to go to appeal, or they just done with it?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you think the state's going to appeal the case?
There's no appeal. There is no appeal. Once you're found not guilty, acquitted. He's good. There is no, let's try to get him in a different way. Not in this case. Over.
Yep.
So again,
I'm saying, so the mistrial would have caused an appeal.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on how he declares a mistrial. Is it with prejudice or without prejudice? Right.
Right.
And if he ruled one way, he would basically declare the case a mistrial, and that's it. It's over. Cannot do anything. Kyle's done. He's free. He'll be at the local Starbucks tomorrow morning. But he could rule the mistrial another way, which then would allow the prosecution to retry him.
He'd have been an intern for one of the
correct
the congressmen.
So think about this, right? Let's say the jury delivers a guilty on all charges. If they read guilty, Rosenbaum guilty, right, and they just went through, the judge could have said, "All right, I hear y'all, mistrial." And I'm waiting for that.
Put that in his back pocket.
I'm waiting for the smoke. I'm like, please say guilty, just so I can see what the judge will do.
Yeah.
Right. Now that didn't happen. Right. He's not guilty. Okay. See you later. Right. Now I could care less about Kyle Rittenhouse. Care less about it. And this sort of help us move on. Right. Now it's about precedent.
Right.
At this point, right this minute, it's all about what does this mean now for specifically the people of Wisconsin? Because I ain't going to Wisconsin. Right. specifically for the people in Wisconsin, what does this mean for them? That's what this is all about now. Kyle Rittenhouse is a done deal.
Right.
He is a proud boy.
It's case law, right? It's
he is
case
a
law.
proud boy. Yep, he's
And-
good to go. He's solid. He won. The
Yeah,
system
and
worked for Kyle
and
Rittenhouse.
he'll never have to buy his own drink. But by the time he's 21, people are buying drinks for him, right? That's just the world we live in.
Don't come to Dorchester.
But again, to kind of to wrap it, I mean, he's got plenty of drinks in Wisconsin. He's fine, right? And all those other states that were on his side from get-go without really knowing all the information in the case. But to kind of wrap it up, unless someone has anything really like big to talk on it, but like
I want to say
They
one more
call
thing.
the guy a hero.
yeah,
man.
that's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Let me say one more thing, George, because you brought it up, right? You brought it up, right? When you were talking about criminalizing the victims, right? Victim blaming, making it that they weren't victims, right? So their history, right? Did that come up? No, not really, right? Like what they did, like they did to Trayvon, right? Oh, Trayvon would smoke weed as if that has anything to do with anything, but sure, they brought it up, right?
Right.
One of the things I said was, somebody actually asked that question on social media, who I know. And he brought that up. Oh, I absolutely think those things matter, right? In terms of the people that are now dead and the guy that got shot in his arm. Their backgrounds matter. What they've done in their past matter, I think. And they gave their reasons why. So my question back to him was, okay, let's say that's what's up. That's what you believe. And let's say we go with that. Does Kyle's background matter? Does his history matter? The things that he's done and said matter? Because there are two videos specifically that I've seen about Kyle when he was just a year ago doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Should that be allowed into the court? Because it wasn't.
Yeah, it's either everything within the same scope gets added or not added, right? So we see it a lot of times when young black kids get shot. It doesn't take 48 hours before like the news comes up and shows a picture of that kid on Facebook 2 years ago when he was 16, throwing up gang signs in a picture that paints him in a bad light. Like they do that so that the right people go, oh, he was a thug. Cops probably were right to shoot that guy. He probably deserved it. It's messed up, but it happens, right? So like either you're bringing all of the background of the accused and the victim, or you're not bringing either. And you're just trying to focus on the scope of what happened, right? And intent is a whole different thing, right? So it's like, all right, what was his intent? Why did he go there? What's his mindset like? What are his tweets and his all this other stuff? You know what I'm saying? He's taking pictures on Facebook and like there's a line, and it's the judge and the system that decides what's in and what's out.
In other words, you mean the government.
The government.
So the last time I checked, and we got a couple of historians in here, right? The last time I checked, this government wasn't necessarily built. Well, actually, what I should say is this government was built to protect certain individuals.
How about this?
And
just to throw this out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
O.J. Simpson.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this was this is one of the earlier trials that brought people and just brought people in different sides of the room, right? Like white people over here, black people over there. And the evidence came out. There was not enough evidence, according to the jury, to find him guilty. Go ahead.
But also, they planted evidence too. Like,
listen, you're right. You're absolutely right. But that is one of the reasons.
That's a mistrial. Like that should also. I mean, we know he did it.
He
did it, but like, should he? Once you tamper with evidence, the law, and get caught.
No, I agree, but that's what happens when you have the burden of proof and you make a mistake, right?
Evidence,
i.e., planting evidence, not providing the right footage, right? Failing to make a couple of things. Like my lights are coming out over here, and doing all these things that make the prosecution look bad. The jury's gonna look at that and be like, because I know if I'm in the jury and you're like, that's not good. You've already lost a bit of respect and from me in the evidence that you're providing. If you lied about that, what else? If that information was planted, what about this information? But like, what I'm getting at is
that's
the
called
jury,
reasonable doubt.
right? The jury made a decision based on the information that was provided. If the prosecution failed to make the cake, right, and he got off, but everybody lost their damn minds. Like, and of course, you know, way back when, the black people were like, just get him off. And they were happy because they got a win. I say they, but you know what I mean, right? There was a win because everybody was like, man, he's gone. They're gonna get the juice, they're gonna squeeze the juice, but the juice got loose. You know what I mean? And that's why
the victory, because they planted evidence and the person who they planted evidence on didn't go to jail. That's a victory because you have the LAPD obviously shown of their criminality.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's why, like, so OJ did it, yeah. But like all these other people that are getting evidence put on them are kind of vindicated because not only did this case go that way, but like you got to look at Mark Furman's stuff.
Mark Furman.
Go back,
yeah.
And you get to litigate all that stuff, everything that he said in his whole history of testifying, of being a police, whatever. It gets thrown in question, and that's. Like we've been saying thing. Granted, OJ did actually commit the crime.
Yeah, we got one though. We got
the point is
you lied. Granted, you lied on somebody who did it, but you've been lying this whole time.
Yo,
right.
Remember this, right? Yeah, OJ might have done it. He might have gotten away with murder, and that's very, very bad for the people he killed and their families. Like they should have gotten justice, and they didn't, right? Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is. But everyone else, right? Everyone else in the country, we needed that to happen that way because they planted evidence.
Right.
Right.
If it went the other way around, it would have been.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Yeah. They plant evidence. It comes out that they plant evidence, and OJ still found guilty. You know what that means for all of us in this room? You know what that means for whoever they feel like?
They're like, oh, they plant evidence on this case and he got found guilty. Case law.
OJ got money. OJ got money, baby. Right? Hired the best of the best, Johnny Cochran, right?
The best.
And he had to because he had to get off. If he didn't, think about what that would say for all the. I'll never forget movie JFK. Whoever hasn't watched the movie JFK should watch it. It's a pretty cool movie. But there's a little girl in there, right? So the DA in the movie is building his case. He's investigating. So he goes to investigate and go talk to a stripper, basically, right? And he's trying to like encourage her, like, tell me what you know and this and that and blah, blah. And then she's like, she gets kind of scared and she clams up and she doesn't want to say anything else. And he's like, what's the matter? It's just us two. Like, why are you clamming up? And she's like, listen, if they can kill the president of the United States and nothing go down, why would they care about a 2-bit showgirl like me? That's what that is about, right? Once they planted evidence and got found out, if OJ still got convicted, even despite the fact that you found out that the government is planting evidence on a citizen, the rest of us are a wrap. We have no shot.
Yep.
It's toast, baby. It's toast. So I get it. OJ again probably did it, probably got away with murder, and you have an entire family, people that love those people that he murdered, that didn't get justice.
Yeah.
And that's sad. But that's the system failing again. That's all it is, man. That's all it is. The system failed again. So, like I said already, we have so much evidence of the system failing that how can anyone trust anything right now?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thought. Like, how?
And here's the thing, to pivot just a little bit, because you got the Ahmaud Arbery case, right? This one right here is a little different. I'm going to sit and listen to, I don't know, have you guys watched the testimony of the accused in this case?
No. But it seemed like they were hanging themselves from what I
Bro.
Oh, no, they were just like, they were feeding the rope, and he was just like, just talking.
Nope.
Go ahead.
Execution.
It is poor. The execution is bad. I agree.
That prosecutor in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, horrible.
Yeah, I agree.
The prosecutor in the Ahmaud Arbery case, I'm scared of that lady, and I didn't even do anything.
Yeah, she was asking questions, and I was just like, I was like, what?
telling you, man, she is meticulous. This you can tell, right? You can see the
Yeah.
It's crazy because both of these cases are happening at the same time, right?
Yep.
They're happening at the same time. You turn on one, and you're like, "Wow." You turn on
That
the
one's
other
on
one,
break.
you're like,
You go to the
"Bro,
other.
you should be charged. You should be, taking on all these cases. This lady is killing them." So when you say they're hanging themselves, they're not doing it. They're not hanging themselves. She's slowly putting the rope around their neck.
Yep, that's it.
Right.
Look,
She's
why?
kind of.
I don't understand why they have him testifying like that.
Because
Well, I don't know what.
because it's a self-defense argument. The defense attorney. Let me just tell you guys something real quick, right, about that particular case. So there's a son, the dad, and a third party, a third guy. Supposedly, it's the friend of the dad's, right? All three of them have their own attorney. Father and son did not hire the same attorney. You know what that means? You know what that means for either one of them? Any one of them testify, which the son testified, the dad's attorney can cross-examine him.
Yep.
As if he's a prosecutor. If he wanted, they could lay the blame all on the son's doorstep. And dad would, hopefully get away with whatever he's trying to get away with. Right?
Yep.
The prosecutor ain't having none of it. She is killing them because she's meticulous. You should hear her talk and compare the two prosecutors. It is night and day. So in the Ahmaud Arbery case, I don't think there's a chance. Like when Hebron said, I hear they're hanging themselves. They're not, bro. She's helping them hang themselves.
Hang themselves.
And there's not much they can.
This is why I bring it up.
When you put the defendant on the stand, normally that's bad.
Yes, but usually when you're seeing the defense,
this is an interesting case with the Rittenhouse situation that it was not as bad as it should have been.
Right.
And that makes all these other extra questions.
I think the caveat, the difference is the fact that it's a self-defense case. That's the difference, right? So we're used to seeing defendants up there who aren't necessarily arguing self-defense, right? We're usually seeing defendants up there or not going up there because it's not about a self-defense case, right? They're making they're making some kind of other argument. But when it's a self-defense case, the jury is going to want to hear from you as to what your state of mind was. What did you really think was happening at the particular time that you had to use lethal? What do they say? What's the word I'm looking for? You had to use lethal force, right?
Yeah, equal lethal force or whatever. Yeah, to quell the.
Exactly. So the video is telling you one thing, that's sure. But what it's not telling you is what Kyle's state of mind is at the particular time. It's not telling you what he's thinking. George Zimmerman argued the same thing, guys. He was bashing my head into the, that's a visual for the jury. So what would you do? You're getting your head bashed in.
Ahmaud Arbery is not able to be like, hey, I went on a jog and these dudes pulled up beside me and they had shotguns and I was fighting for my life. And you're not going to get that. You're going to get him saying, hey, he was nefarious. He was acting weird. And I felt like whatever he's going to say. But the difference with him on the stand versus Rittenhouse on the stand is the vibe is different. He's just sitting there like, I don't even care. He's just like answering honestly. And just like you said, just every question, a little tighter. And I'm like,
that's not by his doing. That's the prosecutor's doing.
When you
said what you said, you're putting a sheep in there with a lion. Bro, she's a lion for real. She's not saying I'm going to be a lion. Yeah, you can say that.
She's petting him. She's petting him.
She is in there and she's like, like I said, it's the difference between winners and losers is execution.
But
I'm an NFL quarterback. Yeah, until you don't go out there and play well and you're no longer.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. We say this now, right? And we're like, because I've been in cases where the closing arguments, the prosecution goes and you're like, put him under the jail, guilty. Defense goes, and then you're like, well, maybe he's not guilty. And the prosecution has the burden of proof, so the prosecution has the last say, right? So it goes back and forth. So we're still early in this case. We don't know what information is going to come out to crack it open one way or the other, right? But then we're going to get an answer. Once all the information comes out, and then if we're putting ourselves in the seat of the jury and listening to the entire thing and hearing all the evidence, and if you're like, yep, he's guilty, what happens then when the jury comes out not guilty? Now we go back to is it a system issue? Because the prosecution seemed better in this case, right? And it seems like right now it is like he's guilty. The video shows that he's guilty. What he's saying is like coming across guilty. But we'll see. We'll see when the evidence comes out and we have our own idea with the proper amount of information in the case, and then make a determination and see if it's matches with the jury's freaking deliberation and statements.
Let's run with that. Can we do that real quick? It won't take long.
Yeah.
Let's run with that. Not guilty. All three of them.
Fire.
Are you surprised?
I would be surprised in this case.
That's okay. So that's what I wanted to hear, right?
No,
Yeah.
I would be surprised.
I would be surprised in this particular scenario, right?
The scenario is different. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So here's what I'm saying to you.
It depends on the information. It depends on so here's the thing. If I watch the whole thing and I'm like, oh, that's damning information for the prosecution. Like that, we didn't know that. That just came out, right? Then I'm like, oh shit. Just like with this case, the video, and they started when soon as he was like, oh, it's self-defense and this is why, and they showed the video, I was like, oops. Before that, I was like, he's guilty. And then after that piece of evidence came out, it changed it. So if evidence doesn't come out to change that and he's guilty, oh shit.
So what I'm asking, the question I'm asking the room is run with what you said, right? He's found not guilty. All three of them. All three of them are found not guilty.
Oh yeah.
Right? Are you surprised? And I'm telling you, you can say I am, and I would say why? We have you're living in a country.
Not all three. Not all three.
You're living in a country where you have had hundreds of years of racism, discrimination, Jim Crow law, prejudice, whatever word you want to insert. Okay? Why would you be surprised?
I say this.
So the simple
I would be surprised, but if I was to be surprised, I answer with this question. I answer a question with a question. If the Zimmerman trial happened today and not 2014 or 15 or whatever it was, do you think it would be the same?
I don't know if it would be the same. Obviously, it depends on the law, because I think the stand your ground law has been changed or something, or adjusted, or maybe they've even gotten rid of it. I'm not sure. But that's not my question, right? I'm not talking about in terms of outcome. I'm saying to you guys, would you be surprised if the three men that are charged with murdering Ahmaud Arbery were found essentially not guilty? Would it surprise
I don't think I'd be surprised.
I would be surprised just what just happened a few hours ago.
I'm willing to
not just a few hours ago. Go ahead.
Say that happens. Go ahead.
I'm willing to make a distinction between the Rittenhouse case and the Arbery case.
Of course.
They are different situations. What I would like to believe is that this is one of the ones that you win because of the situation. Like sometimes you lose the ones you're supposed to win, and sometimes you win the ones
you're supposed to lose. Yeah.
I think OJ was a win that you were supposed to lose because I think OJ did it.
Why do you think he did it? Was there evidence? What evidence did you have other than he was just?
So the glove fit, and that's his wife, and his wife was cheating on him. So like, hold on.
Allegedly. Allegedly fit.
No, these are
that's what I'm saying.
Alleged reasons. My reasons aren't alleged. The crime is alleged. My reasons aren't alleged.
It is great.
He was like,
beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. There had to be footage of him tackling and just spiking the ball.
They don't. You don't have Furman planting evidence. That man is still in jail. Is all I'm saying.
Possible. Yeah.
That was the only thing that they like. Once that was it. That was it. What I'm saying is that was a win that should not have been a win. Fine. I think that the Arbery case is a case that there really isn't, because like so in the Rittenhouse case, like you said, I'm not trying to vilify the victims, but like there is once there's two weapons involved, and he's chasing them.
right?
Like the idea of having a clean like course of events is already out the window. We're talking about an actual combat event at this point.
But wait a minute, that's a false characterization of what happened, right? The first guy that Kyle Rittenhouse shoots does not have a weapon.
Fair enough. Right. If that was it, I think it would be a different argument. And I don't know why the prosecution is not making a distinction between this murder and everything else that happened.
Right.
I would have. That's how I would have approached it.
So the first person he kills does not have a weapon.
I would.
Second person he killed.
On that, it would not even have been. I wouldn't. The other two's names involved. It would have been about that. But that's me.
The second person he kills. Yeah, the second guy he kills.
Matter.
I know. No. I just want to make sure everyone understands like what the facts of the case were. Right. The second guy he kills has a skateboard that he perceives as being a weapon because now that he's shot the first guy, the guy with the skateboard is trying to stop a shooter, right? So picks up a skateboard, Kyle perceives it as danger, and shoots him point blank. Okay? The third guy he shoots is the guy with the gun. The third guy.
Right, no.
He actually survives.
I understand.
He doesn't die. But I just want to make sure that we are, we're all on the same page here.
I'm not
as to what
again, happened. I think this is I don't want to be the term miscarriage of justice, but like this is the problem is that they tried everything together and put the defense situation in the same group as what should be easily perceived as murder. What I'm saying is that's the reason why I would be more surprised in this, because you don't have the mitigating factors, even poorly mitigated factors of the Rittenhouse one. Like, it was poorly argued, and there was enough there that if you could squish it together, you could make a defense. I don't think that exists for this situation. And likewise, I would be surprised if the outcome isn't clear, like the outcome that we predict from our current place. I would be surprised. I don't want to be surprised. I would be surprised.
I just wanted to bring that up. Just to bring that up just to see what you guys think.
But progress also exists. And to say that we're always losing everything isn't really the case. We're losing a lot. But progress is still being made. And I prefer optimism, I guess.
Right. And that's why I'm saying, like, well, I will kind of be surprised because, and again, I go off of like, we got to wait and see. And that's something we could talk about later too, after this case is done, and we could hash it out. But like, I don't want to
get in the six videos.
So Teck, you said you had some.
No, but one question though: was the kid was he attacked by those three guys at all, or anybody?
The video shows him running and stopping and shooting.
From what? Just from a boogeyman?
From the first guy he shot.
But do you see the guy chasing him, or is
it's an aerial? Yeah, it's an aerial shot from a drone. There's a lot of chaos going on, and you just see one guy run and the other guy run, and they're like, I guess according to footage, is close enough or clear enough that you could see that that's Rittenhouse with the AR-15, and you see the other guy. So you see Rittenhouse cross the street, then you see the other guy cross the street, and they go into the car, and there's like a situation there, and then you see the shot. So that's why that's like, if that video footage, it corroborates him saying I shot him out of self-defense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when because the prosecution has to provide that, and they provided a 15-second snippet of like the last couple of seconds that didn't show the chase and didn't show it clear enough. And then all of a sudden, there's another video that came out. Why don't you guys provide that? Now the prosecution has failed miserably, knowing that they had a better footage, longer footage that explains that shows the chase before the shooting. That made it bad.
And
it's like you're in an argument, getting caught in a lie. You know what I mean? Like you lose.
And the explanation as to why that happened, like at least have something. All right, if the judge asks, You know what I mean? And horrible. It was like, what?
Oh, it was compressed footage.
So, like I said originally, the judge in his back pocket has a mistrial sitting there, which he has to rule on. The defense is going to argue that all day long. Hey, you still haven't ruled on the mistrial. What about that judgment? And they have to rule. And by the way, let's just be clear here. Let's say he's found guilty. Let's say the judge rules on the mistrial and says no, right? And denies that motion. They can file an appeal. The defense can file an appeal on behalf of Kyle Rittenhouse because, and then argue the mistrial.
So yeah, I see what you're saying, but you got to look at it a little bit. There's more to that, right? When it comes to the mistrial, say they went and said guilty, and now they want to go over the mistrial. They have to go through all of the reasons behind it, the evidence, the why, and then even to the jury as to like how much weight did they give that first video compared to the second video, and how that would change their mind, and that would cause the answer as whether it's a mistrial or not, right? And so then right?
The judge is going to rule on that, right? But what I'm saying is once the judge rules, Kyle is found guilty, goes to prison. His defense attorneys are going to file an appeal.
Oh, absolutely.
And basically say
right, but like if it's
and basically argue that this should have been declared a mistrial, and here's why. And now you have an appellate court now. Yeah,
I don't understand why. The only thing I can think of is just the mistrial would have postponed a lot of stuff, that's not the reason why you don't do it early, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to think why he would, because I just don't have enough of, even as much as I do know about the court system, is why he would decide to rule on that after and not handle it. Let's hash out everything right now before we even get to the big answer, right?
I know. But I'm with you, man. I'm right with you on that. Right.
So here's the other piece. Yeah. If he's found guilty and they get to the question and that they got to answer, did the video change your overall? To the jury, did the video, that 15-second that you saw of just the shooting versus the 45-second video of him crossing the street, change your mind from guilty to not guilty? That's what will determine. But and if that's the case and the evidence comes out, you can't be mad. But if the jury is like, yeah, from the video that they gave us, the 15-second video that they gave us, it looked like he just shot him. And then after seeing the other video, that changes my mind. I think he's guilty. And if that evidence comes out, you can't get mad. Now,
that's not how the
mistrial
Court of Appeals would work. Like, the Court of Appeals would only be able to rule on the judge's decisions in maybe throwing out, like you could say the judge was incorrect in throwing out this particular piece of evidence. Had that evidence been in, it would have created a different
outcome,
and therefore an outcome.
Mistrial.
And I'm surprised that
that was the problem. That's the problem, right? Is that there's that air, it creates a circumstance where and again, you already mentioned this, right? Prosecutor screwed up. Prosecution screwed up. That's what creates
that's not the judge has to screw up before you get a mistrial. The judge has to screw up. And I don't know that the judge arguably made any decisions.
He didn't.
That were outside of his purview as a judge.
What I'm saying is that he still hadn't ruled. He still hadn't made the screw up yet, right? Or what could have been argued as being a screw up yet.
I don't think
what I'm making
the prejudice.
Right. The point I'm making is that it's sitting in his pocket though. Right? And he held on to it. And it doesn't matter what his reasoning is to us, to the public. There's an air of impropriety there. There's an air of doubt that we believe that he's being impartial, he's delivering the correct judgment. It doesn't mean that he actually is doing something to make us believe that he's actually violating any kind of law or deciding it incorrectly. But it casts doubt. And the only reason, there's a reason why we have the opinions that we have. We don't just have them out of thin air. It's
Right.
based on history. It's based on
Yeah.
history. Okay, so all I'm saying is the fact that he's simply sitting there and hasn't ruled yet on the mistrial motion creates that sense of what's going on here.
Here we go again.
Right. You know, do you know that the defense attorney for one of the men in the Ahmaud Arbery case also requested a mistrial?
I didn't.
And the judge was like, nope.
I mean, you're supposed to request a mistrial. That's.
I'm not saying that they weren't supposed to. I'm saying the judge made a decision based on the motion, right?
Oh, so if you're saying the judge in the Rittenhouse case is been found lacking, we all know that, but it doesn't matter. He's about to be he's 69, about to be 70, and before he retire. It doesn't matter.
The bigger point I'm making,
but this is why you vote local elections.
That was my next note that I had. That's what I'm trying to drive at, right? It creates that sense that there could be funny business going on here, right? So the next thing I had on my notepad is, so now that you're mad, right? Because just, I go, I'm on Twitter or whatever, right? I'm like, seeing everyone's reaction. Like, I'm not engaging anyone, right? I'm not like getting in there and fisticuffs and let's argue about this, right? I'm seeing what people are doing and saying, and I'm just kind of like analyzing that, like thinking about it. It's like, all right, so there's all these people that are angry, and then there's this other side that's all like through the roof, and to the moon, and they're, they couldn't have a better day. So for those people that are just angry and like, I can't believe this, and some of them are really sad. Like, I see a bunch of sad people, man, right? And I'm just like, all right, why does it always seem like we're sad and down? Even myself, like, I'm guilty. You guys were there the whole election, the not the previous election, the one before that, right? I was like, man, Hebron, oh, I'm so down, like, let me right? I went through that myself, right? But now with a little bit of experience, I guess, I'm like, no, this should cause you to want to get to some kind of action, right? You're pissed off, you're sad. Okay, well, why do we have to just be known as though, okay, they're always sad when they lose something they believe in or something doesn't go the right way, right? I think what needs to happen is there needs to be a shift in how people react to these things. Okay, you didn't like what happened. You're not happy about it. Do something. What can you do? You can arm up like Kyle Rittenhouse and go, do your thing, or we can try to go about it. I don't want to use the word the right way, right? That's not the phrase I want to necessarily use, but like, this is what's afforded to us, is that you can go out and vote and get involved and read it and watch it. That's why I watch it. I don't watch it, to fill some kind of need for drama or something, or because I don't have anything else better to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm watching it because I'm like, these are the things that sort of shape our actions. The civil rights movement. What if all of them just stayed home and, looked at their 401k? You know what I mean? Like the things that we do, right? And they just gamed all day long. Like, what if Martin Luther King was on Twitch? And that's just, how he got down. Like, I'm on social media and I see just all these people. Wow, I can't believe it. And again, it reminded me of back when I was kind of dealing with the Trump election and going through all that. And I was just like, oh man, like, this is time to mobilize. This is time to, okay, you don't like it, go do something about it. The people of Wisconsin, for those that are in Wisconsin, you didn't like what happened, go do something about it. Get that DA the hell out of there. Is that something that people even know? It's 1:34 so far in this podcast. So for the people that are watching it, do you even know that that's something that's within your purview? It's within your power to do something about.
I think that's something.
There's
I
no
think
one
people
here
just
from Wisconsin
wait.
right now.
I think people wait for
Not yet.
somebody to do something and get people to follow instead of like, because what you're saying is your emotion, instead of being emotional about it, you feel like you should do something about it.
No, I say do both. The emotion should lead to action.
No, yeah, the emotion carries over to make a change, but
yeah,
I think somebody, I don't know where I heard it, where somebody said we're a very forgivable culture. Black people, we forgive too much. And instead of, like you're saying, go ahead, make a change. You don't like it, fight for it. Don't just sit there and just say something, but it falls on deaf ears because you're not doing anything about it. But I think today, though, Eddie, I do feel like people are just waiting for somebody to take a lead, right? Because like when I look at certain people or social media, it's like somebody's just waiting for somebody to take a lead, and I think that, you know what, I think it goes right into this Kaepernick thing. It transitioned well, because it's just like with the Kaepernick, they're like, well, tell us what to do. It's like, why does he have to tell us what to do the next step? You know what's wrong. He 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 put himself on the line, lost his job. You know what he was talking about. What do you want him to tell you to do next?